Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday. Kyle Ireland, Mitch Harper. We are live from Boulder, Colorado, as we are a few short hours away from getting pregame underway as BYU takes on the Colorado Buffaloes tonight. Colorado is 2-2 on the season. BYU is looking to improve to 4-0 if they come away victorious tonight, Mitch. And let's start off with that. Let's start off with our score predictions. Who do you think wins tonight's football game that kicks off at 8:15?
BYU wins this game. I feel very confident in that. And I know Kirk Herbstreit today on ESPN's College Game Day, he had Colorado as his super underdog pick. Not necessarily a straight-up outright win. I know that's based on the Vegas spreads. But, you know, there's still maybe a faction of the college football landscape that says, well, it's BYU that good. And that was kind of the narrative with Colorado media and fans this week is, well, BYU hasn't played anyone. They haven't played anyone. They're not that good. Well, it's like you faced the same BYU program last December, and they hammered you when you just ignored them and thought, oh, this is just going to be a coronation, a send-off for Travis Hunter and Shedeur, and they wrecked you. And even Jay Hill this week said, philosophically, these teams are very similar. Ding, 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 ding. That's great. I'd be concerned if I'm Pat Shermer, the offensive coordinator for Colorado, because if Jay Hill's feeling like that, we saw how this went last time in San Antonio. I think that BYU wins this game. I think, there will be stretches where Colorado's hanging around in that first quarter, but I think BYU pulls away. I think BYU wins this game 31-17. I think the Cougs get a 14-point victory, go to a 4-0, and move, more importantly, to 1-0 in Big 12 play in a conference, Kyle, that continues to just look so wide open. Texas Tech's the favorite right now, but TCU I thought was right there next to them. They lose their opener. This league is open, so just stack these wins up, man, as much as you can and just get it done. I think BYU does, and I think they go to 1-0 in Big 12 play and have a strong 14-point victory over the Buffs. What say you? How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I think that it's a really similar score prediction for me, Mitch. I'm going to go 31-14 BYU. I think this defense is just going to play lights out again. And I agree with your point earlier in this program where you said, defense travels. Like you expect them to show in and show out every single week, and I agree with that. I think that it really is going to be a blossoming moment for Bear Bachmeier. I think that BYU's offense is going to play better than it did in the Alamo Bowl back in December, and they're really going to be able to just put the hammer down. And I really expect BYU to use this platform of tonight's game to be able to launch themselves into Big 12 play because they have something to prove. Like that's something that this team I kind of was wondering about as this season opened up. Like how much were they going to have a chip on their shoulder? How much were they going to have that, hey, we're out to prove it mentality like they did a season ago? And I think that this season is almost amplified because of some of the downfalls that they had last season, not getting to the ultimate goal that they had of, winning this league and, trying to be a playoff team like they wanted to be in 2024. I think that they have a lot to strive for, and this is the first stepping stone in Big 12 play.
Coaches and players alike have kind of downplayed the whole chasing the Big 12 title piece, but there were many players in the summer and springtime when talking about running it back, not going into the portal, not pursuing the NFL. It was for the goal to go win a Big 12 title because they got so close. They thought last year was the people's Big 12 champion in the Alamo Bowl, and they hammered Colorado. They were so close to a Big 12 title a season ago, but they didn't get it done. And I got to think that this is a big motivating factor to go win a Big 12 title this year. And I think what's exciting for BYU is that those veterans that decided to run it back and do it one more time, one more season, they're starting to feel more confident about their quarterback. Because I think a month ago you feel like, well, this team's good, but is Bear ready? Because a true freshman could derail things if things go south. And we're still going to learn more about Bear. He's not a finalized product by any stretch of the imagination here. But by all accounts, through 3 games, he's been really impressive. And I think he's winning over that locker room to like, okay, we might be better. I think there's an internal belief that this team feels like they are better. The ones that were there last year feel like they're better. And the defense is much better this year. And that was a great defense last season. They were the number 1 defense in the Big 12. And I think that's what's exciting about this BYU team is that the momentum is building with Bear Bachmeier behind him. Back at that Stanford game, even Chase Roberts acknowledged it's still growing pains and learning things. That bye week was huge. They performed at a high level against East Carolina. I think they continue that momentum. Now, the injury to Sione Moa, I think, is noteworthy, and I think it's going to be something that plays a role on this team. But I like the targets that Bear Bachmeier still has, even without JoJo Phillips, Chase Roberts, Carson Ryan, the safety blanket. He's got weapons around him to carry this thing and to get it done. And then, of course, L.J. Martin, keep him healthy, get him the rock, and BYU is going to be in a good place. I don't think Colorado has enough depth to withstand what BYU can continue to throw at them. And the physicality teams always make Colorado struggle. That has been a thorn in the side of Coach Prime's teams since he took over, and I think BYU's physicality overwhelms the Buffs.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'm looking for, too, is the turnover margin in this game. BYU's 10th in the country going into this week at a +5 turnover margin. Caden Salter has yet to throw an interception this season. Obviously, he hasn't started every game for Colorado, but I think that this game, kind of, if you're from the Colorado perspective, it's going to be a game that rides on Caden Salter's shoulders. Like, he's going to have an outstanding performance against a good quality BYU defense. And if he's able to do that, like, Colorado has a chance in this game. I just think that BYU's just more talented. I mean, like, on paper, this is a game that BYU wins by 2 touchdowns. This is going to be a game where if BYU is healthy, can take care of the football, Cougar fans are going to be able to watch the fourth quarter and not be stressed out at all. I really do believe that.
And to your point about the turnovers, Colorado under Coach Prime is +25 total, like spanning since 2023. They were +9, +12 last year, +2 this year. They're good at takeaways. So take care of the football, but Colorado's still searching for that signature marquee win. They haven't beat a ranked team. They've lost 7 consecutive games against ranked opponents. They haven't had a signature win. You got to go back to that TCU game in Coach Prime's debut out in Fort Worth when TCU was riding high off the national championship game appearance, and Colorado was a 3-touchdown underdog. Coach Prime and the crew, they went in and beat TCU. But since then, they've lost 7 straight against ranked teams. Tonight could be the 8th if BYU takes care of business. But I do think the turnover margin is something to watch there. But BYU's been so good at taking care of the football. And that's in large part because of Bear Bachmeier's decision-making, and also BYU's secondary is playing with a lot of confidence too. And you've got active linebackers who can be like an eraser. Isaiah Glasker can erase, whether it's wide receivers, tight ends. He can do so many different things in Jay Hill's defense. And he's also got the ability to get the hands on the ball and come up with the takeaway as well. So I like the matchup for BYU in this game. It's a late night. It's going to be a national showcase game. There's really no competition tonight in the late night window. It's all about BYU and Colorado. So hopefully that can get some respect on BYU's name. And I hate to even say that because this is a good football team. They should just naturally get respect by their body of work to this point. But we know how this sport works. You got to take advantage when the eyeballs are watching. And BYU's got a great chance to really take down a program in Colorado that's pretty good under Coach Prime. But still, I think they're trying to figure themselves out this year, post-Shador, post-Travis Hunter.
What version of Colorado do you think we see tonight? Because they start the season off with a game against Georgia Tech where they only lose by a touchdown, Mitch, but they got ran all over by Haynes Keen and the Georgia Tech offense there. And then, they ended up falling a couple games ago at Houston. That was another game where, they didn't play up to what they wanted to. But last week, even against Wyoming, it wasn't a perfect game for the Colorado Buffaloes and their offense, and they're still trying to figure themselves out, like you mentioned. But do you think that this is a game like the Georgia Tech game where BYU is just going to be able to run all over the Buffs?
I think they could. I think definitely. I mean, BYU's offensive line's got to be elite from the get-go and start out strong, and I think they can. BYU can wear this team down in a hurry. They are more than enough competent or capable of doing that. I do think Colorado offensively, they're going to want to stretch the field. They want to get downfield. If BYU can avoid the chunk yardage plays for Colorado, BYU is going to be in a great spot. Force Caden Salter and Colorado to go 75 yards every time. Don't give them an easy one. Don't give them a pick six. Don't give them some cheap touchdown. And so far they haven't. If you force them to go 70, 80 yards every drive, that ain't going to work against BYU's defense. So I think BYU's in a good spot. I think the Cougs get it done. You agree as well, Kyle. I think we got BYU getting to 4-0 in this game. You can follow all of our coverage tonight inside Folsom Field on KSLSports.com. We're going to have extended pregame coverage beginning at 6 o'clock right here on KSL News Radio. And then Greg Wrubell, Hans Olsen, and the crew will have the call of BYU and Colorado, the 25th-ranked Cougars, taking on the Buffs for the first time as a conference foe since 1947. We'll be back tonight at 6 o'clock for extended pregame. Talk to you then here on KSL News Radio.